Hello everyone, welcome back to Crafts by the Bow. Today I haven't done a Facebook Live, so I'm just going to make a quick video to pop on my YouTube, and I will put it on my Facebook page as well. And I haven't cut anything at all, but I know what I'm going to make. And I'm using things that I've already got on my desk. I have two sets of sayings or sentiments on my desk. This is the product of the month for January. So it costs $5 for Canadians. And I think you can still order it in February if you haven't previously ordered it in January. You have to spend $100 and then you get it for $5. And I have the lovely arrangements, sentiments, because last week I was using this happy birthday. And I have my gallery blooms. I'm going to use the stamps and the dies, but I'm not going to use the beautiful gallery paper, although you could use it for this card. This is what we're going to need, and I'm using a paper that I haven't used for ages, and it's going to be this one. I can't even remember what it's called. Perennial Lavender. And inside here I've got lots of little pre-cut arches and paper and all sorts. And I thought I would use this arch, the Pretty Peacock arch. So I did go and get my Pretty Peacock card. So that's what I'm going to use. And I'm going to make a card that I made for my card class for January. And we made this in class and we used retired papers. This is the translucent florals. But I also used a sentiment from the pre-made ephemera. The set that's out at the moment, and it's a kind of a Z fold, and it's just a fun fold. And because this was still on my desk, then I decided to just have a desk day. So let me show you how to make this. I'll move these pieces, we don't need these at the moment, but we're going to do the base. And as I said, I'm using Pretty Peacock. I don't think I use that often enough. It's such a nice colour. You need one whole sheet. Oh, I can't get it out. It wants to stay in there. There we go. So one whole sheet, and we're going to cut it on the long edge down to 10 3/4. In fact, no, let's do it the other way. Let's cut this at 5 1/2. No, I can't. We're going to cut it at 10 3/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, so trim it down to 10 3/4. It's only 11 anyway. I was thinking I could turn it round, but I can't. And then you can close that up, cut it down to 5 1/2. So it uses a little bit more than half a piece of cardstock. You wouldn't be able to get two out of this. And I'm going to score at 3 3/4 and 7. So I'm going to open that up again, and on the long side 3 3/4, just the scoring blade, and then 7. Okay. And while I've got this out, let's cut the designer series paper. So the paper I need for the front of the card, or this piece of the card, needs to be 3 1/2 by 5 1/4. And I have some scraps that I know that would work. I'm going to use these two pieces. I've probably got smaller ones that would work, but let's do this. So I'm going to cut it down to 5 3/4. So down to 5 3/4. Oh, isn't the back pretty? But it wouldn't work for what we're doing today. So 5 1/4. Put that piece away. And then we'll trim it to 3 1/2. And then that bit's just too narrow. Let's cut a piece off that's 3/4 of an inch as well. Gonna just trim it up, but I'm going to use the right hand side this time. So 3/4. Pop that one away. I might use that piece on the envelope. And then we'll trim this down to 5 1/4. So that's going to be my front piece and my inside piece. And now I just need the middle piece, which I'm going to use this side, and I'm going to cut it at 3 inches, and then I will trim it down. So 3, I'm going to trim it down to 5 1/4. Oh, it doesn't matter about that side. I was trying to get the nicest part of it, but I'm not using that side. I'm using this side. Okay, and then I need a piece of white, which is going to be 2 3/4 by 5 1/4. And let me see where I put that, because I had a piece of white a moment ago. This one. So let's see, 2 3/4. I'm just going to check that it's 5 1/4. Yeah. So 2 3/4. And we're going to trim it down to 5 1/4. Just a little bit off. It must have been a 5 1/2 inch piece. And I think that's all the trimming that I need to do. So let's put that away. And let's move these out of the way. Okay. So to start off with, you can see that this is really only a Z-fold card. So what you need to do is to look at your score lines, and when you put it on, you'll see that the narrower piece is the middle piece. So this wider piece at the left-hand side here, we're going to make sure that's the front. So let me move that out of the way. So I like to hold it so that the front is at the left-hand side, and I bend this piece of card backwards and score it. Okay, so that's bent backwards. And then I'm going to bend it forwards. So where this other score line is, it's going to come up. I'm going to score, burnish where I've scored it. Okay, and you can see on here that where the fold is for the front, it doesn't go up right to the edge here. And on the back, it doesn't either. So that middle panel is much smaller than the other 2 panels. And that's exactly what you want. Okay, so we've got this, whoops. See, so we've got this like this. See, so at the left-hand side, it's just a single piece of card. And the middle folded piece is going to go to the right-hand side. I'm just going to go over my cardstock here. There we are. Okay, and then it's time to put it together. I'm going to find our pieces of designer series paper. This piece is going to go on the front. This piece is going to go in the middle. And then we're going to put the white on and this designer series paper at the right hand side. Now I like to put this right hand side piece on first, because I find if I've put the white on and I've not quite got it centered, there might not be enough room to leave a good border with this one. So I'm putting this on first. It would be really pretty with that side showing as well, but this time it wouldn't match what I want to put on the front. So there we go. Let's just pop that on. Move those out of the way, because I'm going to turn my cardstock round. And this way I can just see easier if I've got the same border all the way around. Okay, so it needs to go down a little bit. There we go. Just make sure that that's straight. Yeah. And then our basic white, I'm going to put adhesive on the back, and I'm just going to butt it right up to the edge of the paper here. Now you could make that easier if you made this piece 3/4 of an inch wider, but I don't want to waste cardstock and I don't need to do it that way. But if you would feel more comfortable, you could certainly add 3/4 of an inch to the width of the white card and then just put the designer series paper over the top. Now, this one's going to go in the middle. So some glue on, and I'm going to try and line it up with the top of the next door panel. It will still have that nice border all the way around, but if I line it up with the top, I know that it's going to look really nice. Okay, and then the same with this one. It's going to go at the left-hand side, and I'm going to try and line it up top and bottom, really. There we are. Okay, I'll put my glue on for a moment. So that's our Z-fold card made. Really quick, easy, a nice little fold to use. Okay, let's pop that to the side. Now I'm going to make my front. On the one we made in card class, I used retired scallops, I used circles, and we fussy cut a little flower. But this time, because I'm using what's on my desk as well, I already had these Gallery Bloom flowers die cut. And you'll remember I used some last week and the week before, and I was colouring them. And I'm going to have one that goes across the front. But because this is quite subtle with just the greens, I decided I didn't want a coloured one. So I popped those on to the side. I have one that I cut out in grey that would look really pretty, and one that I cut out that I'd used crumb cake. And because the backing of these papers has that brown crumb cake colour, I thought I would use the crumb cake one. So use what you have. You know, if you want to cut something, if you want to fussy cut a flower, that's fine. I'm not going to do a lot of colouring on it. And I know that the greens here in this whole pack are Shaded Spruce and Pretty Peacock. And I do have Shaded Spruce blends. I don't have Pretty Peacock ones. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the leaf in with, this is the light Shaded Spruce. I'm just going to put a little bit in. I don't want it to be sort of overpowering. I don't want to see a lot of colour. And you could do this with like a watercolour crayon. You could use ink on a little ink block or the inside of your ink pad, and use a blender pen or an aqua painter. Lots of different ways to colour these in. You could even use a brush and your ink refill. So just use whatever you have. So I'm just quickly colouring. You might want to take a little bit more time, make it look prettier than mine. And I didn't use this die cut piece that I'd made, as I don't know if you can see it, but the very top of it, it was a little bit lighter. When I'd stamped it, it hadn't come out quite the same all the way around. And so I thought, oh, I don't want to use that one. So I'm just going to put it to one side. But sometimes when you look back, think actually it would work for today's project. Didn't maybe work for that project, but it would work for today. I'm just going over where the little lines and the shading is with the same green, with the same light Shaded Spruce. You could use the darker one if you wanted. And then I've just got light and dark Daffodil Delight. I'm only going to use the dark, and I'm going to just colour in just roughly the centre of the flowers, so that the roses themselves look almost like they might be a white petal. You could put a very pale pink on if you didn't want something too dark. Like a petal pink would be pretty, because that's quite a pale pink. I'm just going to leave it white. Just going to leave it as white roses. Okay. Now this is going to go over the front, and I'm going to put my sentiment across here. I know that I want this popped up, so I'm already just going to put my dimensionals on the back. Pop on there, and I'm just going to cut a couple a little bit smaller. Use the edge piece just to put a little bit down here where the stem is. I know I want that to be sort of popped up. Ooh, that will be a bit too long. I'm just going to trim it. There we go. I'm going to put that on that leaf over that side. I'm just going to cut one more to have over here. If you didn't want to chop up the dimensionals, you could use the longer dimensionals that we have. You know, the ones that you would use on a shaker card, the long thin ones. You could just use little pieces of that. I just don't happen to have any of that on my desk. Sometimes it's a blessing not to tidy up because it means I've already got lots of things out for today's project. Okay, I'm going to pop that on a side like this, and then I'm just going to do a quick and easy little sentiment. Now let me find, here's the rest of my basic white that I cut off from making the inside here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp on here, and I have basic grey, and I brought the Pretty Peacock, and I think I'm going to stamp in Pretty Peacock. Okay, so let me find where I popped those stamps. So the lovely arrangements and the fabulous sayings. I don't know, I only want a small sentiment. Let's try the just a note, and then it doesn't matter what I use the card for. I do like the thank you as well though. So I might try both and then see what looks best at the end. Let's find it. Right, there's the thank you. Just pop that down. Let's try that one. And I'm going to stamp it on the straight edge. That is nice. I like that font. I love that A on there. Let's just get a wipe. And then we can quickly clean that and see if that's what I'm going to use, or if I'm going to use the just a note. Let's pop that one back. The just a note's a little bit smaller. I'm going to stamp that over here at the right hand side. Oh, I don't like that very much. Let me just turn that over, stamp it again, but over at this side. That's better. And then let's trim that, excuse me. I'm just going to cut through the middle of there. And then I'm going to, I could probably put this one in the trimmer when it's this width, but when it's smaller, I find it difficult to get into the trimmer and keep still. Although sometimes I do use the little guillotine that Stampin' Up had out for a while. Oh, I have to take a little bit more off the bottom of there. Okay, and then let me find that Pretty Peacock again, because I have some little scrap pieces in here of Pretty Peacock. Now let's see. That would look nice across the whole of it, wouldn't it? Or something like this. Or this at a side. I'm going to make them both, and then we can check to see which one we like best. And trim this one down. And then I'm going to put that little angle on that you know I like. Do the same here. Let's trim this one down. Put that little angle on. Pop those over there. And I might be able to get them both on the same piece of cardstock. Pop that down there. And just leave a little border all the way around. See, can I get that one on as well? Yeah, I can. And you may know that as I'm from Yorkshire, the white rose is our emblem. Here in Alberta, the pink wild rose is the emblem for the state. But for where I'm from, the white rose is our rose. So I often make things just with white roses on, because for family and friends back there, it has much more of a sentimental meaning. Okay, pop that one back. And let's see, let's pop them over. So I like this. I'd have to maybe cover that leaf over there. I do like that one. Let me just see. I think I like the little one because I can see more of the leaf and just the little stem coming out as well. So I'm going to use the little one, and I'm going to put a dimensional at the left and at the right. And that way I can pop it over the top of the stem on my die cut, and it will hold it in place. I'm just feeling where that dimensional is. I'm just sort of moving it over to see how much room I have. There we go. And so there we are. That's things on my desk. I do have some other things on my desk. Like I have some of these little butterflies that popped out off my box last week, and I haven't tidied them up. Let me just see. Here's another one. I think there were 3 altogether. So I'll have a look for those because I think they would look quite nice on there. Just on here. Or you could put a little gem on, or whatever you've got. So I will play with those, and you will see on the video which things I've got. But there we go. So just a simple Z-fold card, and you don't need very much at all. Remember I said I had that one little piece left. I think I have an envelope over here. Yeah, so I'll probably just put this on the side like that, and it will mean that the envelope matches, for just a little scrap of paper that we might ordinarily throw away. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you'll give this little Z-fold a try and see what you can make with it. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you all again really soon, and hope to be back next week for our Facebook Lives. Take care. Bye-bye.